just running around barefoot. That's really cute. Don't come any closer. Yeah.
No, it's not important. I'll bring one over.
Thank you. You want to go?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you that close. Go around this way. Yeah.
Unless you would talk to someone.
Oh, yeah. My sister and I they're down the station. That was like our break every summer. Al's like moved up and like transported to this like little paradise. What a
Jim, we're gonna have a few people speak. We're gonna speak Albert. Oh, okay. Albert. Okay, is that, I think so. In the 1 second, Rabbi. Yeah. Interactive Zoom.
Yes.
Sheila and I come from my dad, who was a crier, and we cry. That's what we do. Thank God. Not too many of us left in the world. But doesn't take much. So I plan on crying whenever I feel like it. That's my motto. Very unusual circumstances and from high authorities in the merit of Sheila that we have all of these difficult problems of halacha. If I could have done the mourning, which was possible actually, but I couldn't get here. I was in Cleveland, and if I could have done the 1 hour of mourning on Friday, I wouldn't have sat shiva at all. So this is a moment of very unusual laws in the Talmud, and in the merit of Sheila that we study these laws. And I just want to make sure with Mr. Cohen that we can do the interactive Zoom, which I will.
Rabbi, it'd be best if we just got them on a cell phone and hold it up to the speaker, or put them on speakerphone and turn it
Why?
on.
They said the Zoom was interactive.
It's not. You won't be able to keep everyone. No one else is on Zoom right now. So I just checked. It's just on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube. That's
YouTube.
because that's.
Well, I thought that was the Zoom.
No, we need a direct Zoom link for them to be able to talk in.
Oh.
Wow.
Well,
But if we could just call them on a cell phone and put it on speakerphone next to that microphone, it'll work out great.
okay. Yeah, let's call Albert. And Sarah will call Josh and
Probably one with Ari right now.
so okay. Anyway, back to Pesach and the unusual situation we got hid in. So if I would have sat 1 hour on Friday, I wouldn't have had to sit any more Shiva. And the 30 days of mourning, which you do for a sister, would have been over on my mother's yard side, who's buried right here, which is very precise, unusual time. Just to tell you, the odds of that are 1 in 10 million. So it's really interesting. This way, I will not sit Shiva. I'm not sitting Shiva after the funeral. This is Pesach. Pesach trumps mourning. And I will sit after Pesach's over. So that's the short version of a very long study to figure out how to do the mourning. We're going to have a few psalms King David wrote at midnight, and his wrestlings. He would get up at a wind harp. I woke him up every Saturday, every night at midnight to write these poems, and they've been our comfort and our guide for ever since the last 2,000 years. So I'll read them in English, and one of them in Hebrew. Happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in Hashem's Torah day and night, and will be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose leaf will not wither, but whatever one does prospers. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed. And if you wonder who's wicked, just look around, read the paper. A song of David. The Lord who may sojourn in your tent, who may dwell in your holy mountain, one who walks in purity, Tmimut, does what is righteous and speaks truth from the heart, who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace towards a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully, even to personal hurt, and never retracts. One does not lend money on interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. Then our main psalm of mourning. Mizmor David Adonai Rohi Lo Etzor. Bino Sheyar B'Tzeini Omei Menufad Yinoleni. Nafshi Shabeb Yankedi B'Maglet Tzedek. L'man Shmo Gam Ki Elech V'Geit Samavet. Lo Irara Ki Atoi Madi. Shiv Tachal Mishan Tachal Emunah K'moni. Tarok Lafonai, Shochan Negatsarai, Vishanta Hashem Roshi Kosi Revaya, Ach Tov of Hesed Yudapudi Koyime Kayai, Shafti Bavet Adonai, the Song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. Adonai makes me lie down in lush pastures. Adonai leads me beside tranquil waters. Adonai restores my soul and guides me in the righteous paths. For God's name's sake, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. You are with me, your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. And then for Sheila, a gallant, valorous woman, who can find? Far beyond pearls is her worth. Her husband's heartfelt trust in her, and he shall lack for nothing. She bestows good upon him and never harm all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is the merchant, like a merchant fleet, bringing her sustenance from afar. She arises while it is yet night and gives provision to her household, a direction to her maidens. She visits the field and acquires it from the fruit of her handiwork. She plants a vineyard. With vigor, she girds her loins and strengthens her arms. She discerns that her enterprise is good. Her lamp does not go out by night. Her hands she stretches out to the distaff, and her palms support the spindle. She spreads out her palm to the poor and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow for her household, for her entire household is clothed with scarlet wool. Fine covers she made herself, linen and purple wool are her clothing. Prominent in the gates is her husband. He sits with the elders of the land. She makes a cloak and sells it, and deals a belt to the peddler. Strength and splendor are her raiment. She cheerfully awaits the last day. Her mouth is opened with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She oversees the ways of her household and partakes not of the bread of laziness. Her children arise and praise her husband, and he lauds her. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you surpass them all. Grace is false, beauty is vain. A woman, a God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her own hand, and her deeds praise her in the gathering place. Sheila was, Hebrew name is officially Chaya Shena Bela, Bat Lipsha of Tzvi Hersh. Parents who are buried right here. We have a granddaughter buried under that big pile of dirt as well, who was died before she could be named, and so on. So we have 6 generations here in this graveyard. And Sheila was most interested in family history, and she published a number of books about it and did some movies. My fondest movie is a movie of my parents' wedding where Gerard's father was dancing with Kazachka, who was one of my dad's best friends. They were in a poker club together. Gerard is what I call the saving remnant of a very close group of friends that came as children of immigrants to Denver, and they were quite a bunch. And but Sheila was when Gerard's father came around, she hid in the closet because he would always pinch her cheeks. That's one of my first memories of Sheila, hiding in the closet because he used to pinch mine too. I didn't like it, but he was a very, very nice and good person thinks. We are grateful for that history. We go way back in Denver history, and it's very unusual for Jews to have 6 generations in one place. We're long-term investors here in Denver. In the spiritual life of Denver. One of my Zeta Hoffman, was the first president of the Ostomer Shul. My other Zeta Butler was the first gabbai at the BMH. And so there's a lot of history here. And Sheila documented the whole thing in these books. It was really an outstanding accomplishment. And through films of, she was able to resurrect these old films, because my uncle worked for Eastman Kodak. They had the first movie camera in Denver, so we have some very old vintage films because of Sheila's efforts to preserve them. Really appreciate that. Sheila was born on March 18th, 1940, 7 years before me. That was my good fortune, because my father was told at that moment that he couldn't have any more children. So I was a pleasant surprise after 7 more years when he came back from the army. They didn't expect me. Both my sisters said, "Can you send him back where he came from?"
No.
But it was, we had many family gatherings. Sheila was an outstanding athlete in high school. She was on the swim team. She was a star skier, and she was strong as an ox. And she used to beat me up every day. So, but she really was active, very active in student politics at East High School, and did very well in school. And I hate to say this a little bit, but to my father's chagrin, she wanted to be a fine artist. This was not, those who read about various Jewish artists, this was not, it was better to be a comedian, actually, like myself. But she wanted to be a fine artist, and she won international contests for her fine oil paintings. She went to San Francisco School of Art, and she was a brilliant artist. But the practical side, she went to work for BBD&O, still a very large advertising firm in New York. And she did a lot in the promotion of wines. She made a game like Monopoly about wine properties. And she was very good in advertising. And she succeeded in that field. And then she went into commercial real estate. And then after that, her main thing was gardening. She picked up an old custom of my mom. We used to come out with my mother to this graveyard and talk to the people in the graves. People thought we were on some kind of peyote or something. But, we went around, talked to so Sheila had in her yard trees for all the dead relatives. And I really appreciated it, because she loved her plants, and her garden was truly machaya. It was truly amazing. The hardest time was family seders, actually, because they knew if I ran the seder, we'd go till my son Joshua made the seder go till 4 a.m. And I thanked him for keeping a noble family tradition. But Sheila and Nona didn't go along with that very much. So one time I came over, I walked across the viaduct, came over for a family seder, and Nona and Sheila locked me out of the house and made me promise to end by 10 o'clock, whether they would let me in the apartment. So Sheila was politically active with helping my mother. I have in my front closet still a sweatshirt she made. On it, it says "Glasnost, Smashnost," and she actively would demonstrate in front of the Capitol with my mom, and support my mother in all of her political activities. And my mom liked it, and Sheila liked it too. And when you see these two short women coming, you want to run the other way. I saw many big 6'5" Russians run away from them. They were formidable pair when they got together. I had to run myself a few times. But we had many family seders. Usually Sheila and Nona would start drinking that sweet Manischewitz wine, and they would just laugh through the whole thing. You know, they made it really a joyful occasion. One memorable Thanksgiving, we went to the 21 Club for Thanksgiving dinner with Charlie Burns, who was a friend of my father's. And all of a sudden, you know, we're walking down the hall and Sheila falls down crying, sobbing. I said, "What are you crying about?" She says, "I feel so bad for that moose." There was a moose head on the wall. And she was crying for the moose. I said, "Okay, you know, whatever." You know, I didn't know what to do. Actually, it was kind of embarrassing. But, we were at such distinguished company, and she's sobbing, crying for a moose. But that was Sheila. She had a great heart. She loved very hard, and she cried hard, and she was a very sensitive person. We come from a sensitive family, we might say that. But we had many times I came on my way back from Israel and stopped at her house on Long Island, and she would arrange classes for me to teach from people from East Hampton. They weren't exactly the people I was used to teaching, but it was great, you know, and she always didn't hesitate to arrange these classes. And she was known in the synagogue because she was the only one in the history of Long Island that ever gave kiddushes and had on the Yortzeit board her cats. And she had a cat named after my father, Harry the cat. And he was right up on the Yortzeit plaques. So I always thought that was a good touch. She had no hesitation. Holy chutzpah, we called it. And anyway, as the time went on, Sheila had various physical problems, and we really appreciate Wendy and my wife. We went through a long period of, she hung on, she breathed without the respirator, but she was on a feeding tube, and she kept hanging on, and then she was just waiting for Pesach. For whatever reason, maybe because I think all her life she dreamed of freedom. And so the Passover was, like I say, the Seders were our most meaningful time together. And I think she just wanted to dine on Pesach. That's all I could figure. Once my wife and I, we stayed home all the time, and then so we're finally going to Cleveland for Pesach, and I knew she was going to die right when I was in Cleveland, you know, and sure enough, that's what happened. But her timing was impeccable, and God's timing, God helped us out. And it's a auspicious sign to die on Facebook. So we welcome that, and with that, I'll let some members of my family speak. First, Albert. Yeah. Can we turn up the sound here? What?
They come to you that out.
Albert is Sheila's husband. They were married in May 16th, 1986. And after a courtship of significant time. And Albert is going to say a couple words.
Okay, you can talk, Albert. Turn off your computer. Mute your computer.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can talk.
I can hear. Should I talk now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. You can talk.
Hi. I have a few comments. Sheila came to New York to start a career as a graphic artist. I was starting a career as a real estate developer. We met. I found her a great apartment. We've been together for 57 years since then. Sheila was always an activist and a leader. She was very active in the campaign for Soviet Jewry with her mother. Sometimes she helped the mother, sometimes the mother helped her in the various activities. I have one statement that I think summarizes Sheila very well. Most people go through life never singing their song. Sheila went through life singing her song, and it was a beautiful song. I greatly miss Sheila.
And Ari?
Good job, Timothy.
Yeah. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. All right. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
All right. When Harry, Svehers, and Lillian Lifsha Hoffman got together, the universe put its seatbelt on. Their children, tempered a bit by Clara Alashellen, carried that energy forth from Six to Dexter into the world. With love and respect to Nona, who we still miss deeply, and to my father, Zoltan Stark, I will say a bit about Sheila. From Sheila shined a light of love and caring, along with generous doses of anxiety and wit. There was never a time that I was with Sheila when I didn't feel like I was the star of the show. To be fair, I always knew that I was making a cameo appearance and that the main stars were the cat in the garden. Sheila's light and warmth was only enhanced by her perpetually perfectly coiffed hair and her fabulous eyelashes. Sheila did not go halfway on things. Whether it was that cool model of the Empire State Building, the wine game, the basement museum dedicated to her parents, the beautiful garden, the cat, her passion for different causes, including her love for the land of Israel. They were all done with an intensity and attention unique to Sheila Hoffman-Bialek. The marrow that Sheila sucked out of her chicken bones was merely a parable for the marrow she sucked out of life, living in a way that brought beauty to her life and to those around her. Nanny and Papa and your cats have missed you dearly, and now you are together once again. I expect that God had been working on the garden in preparation for your arrival. Your family here on earth, most of all Al, miss you, and we hope to honor you by recommitting ourselves to living superlative lives and fully dedicating our energies and passion to those things which are most meaningful to us. We also ask that you be a trusted lobbyist for us with God on high. Please add your committed, insistent voice to the prayers for the good of the whole world, and especially for the Jews in the land of Israel.
My 10-year-old son. Little commentary on that. My parents both grew up without shoes. They were very poor. So we ate poor people's food. And a lot of the habits disappeared, like chewing on the fins of locks and eating the chicken feet. But the one habit that always lasted all of our lives was chewing up all the chicken bones and sucking the marrow out. And it's very embarrassing, actually, but it was a very good way to get the maximum nourishment from the chicken. Okay. Go ahead, Josh.
It's an honor to be able to say something at my dear Aunt Sheila's funeral here today, as we're in the midst of Pesach. I would just like to focus on celebrating and appreciating my dear Aunt Sheila, and after Pesach we can focus more on the sadness of what we've lost. But there's an opportunity to touch on the joy that I so much appreciated that she brought into my life. It was a real honor to have Aunt Sheila in my life for the last 37 years. She was a woman who always showed me love, care, and concern, but I felt only in ways that are similar to the love I felt from my grandparents. It was that you could do no wrong. You could bring me joy. I just like being on the phone with you, and I was so grateful for that. There are very few people who always called me Joshua, but among them were my dear Aunt Sheila, blessed memory now, and Aunt Nona, blessed memory, and my grandmother, Lillian Hoffman. And that's a name that I love. I'm really I'm glad that I wasn't just given the name Josh, but Joshua. I just love the way they all said it, and it was just that smile, and that the joy that it gave me, that I didn't need to do anything else but show up, and it made them happy. I recall a few times that I was able to spend at her house in the Hamptons, and those times were filled with fun. It was we always had a fabulous time, and I say the word fabulous because that was a word that I often heard her say, as well as my Aunt Nona, and I just, when I think of Aunt Sheila, that's a word that just pops right out. And the way I just received that individual attention from her on those visits. I remember the time that I spent a few days with her and Uncle Al at their house there in the Hamptons, and they took me to the beach and a drive through the Hamptons, swam in their pool. Uncle Al treated me to his exceptional culinary skills, and it was just these conversations that I'd have with Aunt Sheila during that time. It was that she wanted to know what was going on in my life, and every bit of that I would share with her brought her joy. And I was so glad that I was able to receive that from her. Was it was also the way that she would call me honey. I don't know if, I'm sure many others could relate to that. When I think about it was either Joshua or honey. And I don't know if it's just old timers who call everybody honey, but it was great to be called honey by her. And she liked to hear where I was going in life in the long term and also the short term. She was overjoyed when, things were going well. And I remember so clearly that after I had been in my car accident and was in the hospital, she had made this most incredible project. She called them prayer banners. And they were this long strings or something like that had these banners suspended from them, and all of these banners just had good wishes, just so much positivity sent. And I remember putting it up in my room in the hospital and really appreciating the way she thought about me and the way she wanted to do what she could during that time, which really was about showing me that she cared and she wanted me to know that I still had all of her love. Among the conversations that we had, I can say that there was basically one theme, and that was family. Family that was still in this world, family that had already left. But it was all about the stories of our family. The stories of our family were her stories, and they were the most important gift that she could give us. And that's something I so cherish, that she put together those books about Nanny and her life. But I know how involved she was in my grandmother's work as well. I do remember how fun she could be at times, but when she didn't really try to be. There was a time I was actually at Ari's wedding, my brother Ari's wedding. She was there at the hotel, and I came into her room and we were watching a movie, and we weren't. It was just a lot of fun, just to be treated to this special time. I remember she ordered room service with an assortment of nuts, and it was just a pleasure to be shown that love and affection. And I always got such a kick out of her affection for her cats, as was mentioned already. And the one thing that I've been thinking so much about since her passing were just two lessons. Well, one is that in the recent years, when I've been calling her as she's had her health deteriorated, she loved it when I would call and I would just say, "I love you, Aunt Sheila," and she would just tell me how great that felt, that I could tell her that I loved her with the way she was struggling. She just really appreciated those calls. And one thing that I would like to just try and focus on and take with me, and we can all learn from, is the benefits, the great kindness that we can do for others when we call them up, or people who we already live with, we see regularly, those people who are in our lives that we can reach out to and we say, "You're on my mind, I care about you, I think about you, and I love you." The other is Aunt Sheila's identity as a Jew, and how special it was to be a Jew, and the importance of doing something about it, as was mentioned before, her involvement in my grandmother's work. And in connection with that, and the family, is the fact that she said to me once, "Joshua, who's going to pay attention to all the yard sites when I'm gone?" And I thought for a moment, and I said, "And Sheila, I will." And so I know that was taking on a big responsibility, but I really appreciated the way she connected me with my identity as in the bigger picture of the family, the bigger picture of the Jewish people. And I will so miss the very much the love that I felt from her. And that is something that I will do my best to share with others and encourage others to share it in their own lives.
Amen. 10-year-old son. Come on. Beautiful. Sarah. Okay. Okay, we'll cover the graves and I'll tear my clothes, which is the ancient custom of the Jewish people. And there's many prayers we get to skip because it's let's say. If everybody could help out, the family will put some handfuls on first. Don't jump in or fall. Wait till the grave is covered. Close. Noi notain and noi lokea. Hashem gives, Hashem takes. Blessed be the name of Hashem. We appreciate that we have a go, birth, and a stop at death. Both are related like Tuma and Tahara in a very profound way that our meditations on life, birth and death instruct us for the rest of our events of life. Don't be shy. It's actually a pretty big pile of dirt now. No. Hi, Sheila of Livsha. See hairs, please forgive me if I did anything to hurt you. First, cut across. Baruch Dayan Emer.
Figure out what's the best course of action. So,
I'll end with Psalm 91, which is we say at the end of every Shabbos. Because the whole thing about being a human is shocking. Born from a drop of fluid, and we go back to the earth. What? We're born from a drop of fluid. We go back to the earth, and this prayer, Psalm 91, mitigates the shock and ends with a song which I favor now that I've been singing very vigorously since I'm 75 years old. You who dwell in the shelter of the Most High, abiding in the shadow of the Almighty, I say on the Lord, my refuge and my stronghold, my God, in whom I trust. That God will deliver you from the ensnaring net, from the destructive plague. With God's pinion will shelter you, and under God's wings shall you find refuge. Faith in God shall be your shield and protection. Fear not the terror of the night, the arrow that flies by day, the plague that stalks in the darkness, the destruction that ravages at noon. Though 1,000 may fall at your left side and 10,000 at your right, it shall not reach you. Look out clearly, and you shall see the retribution against the wicked. Because you said, you, Lord, are my trust. You set the Most High as your dwelling. No harm shall befall you, nor disease come near your tent. For God will give God's angels charge concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They shall carry you on their hands, lest you injure your foot against a stone. You shall tread on the lion and the viper. You shall trample the young lion and the serpent. Does he yearn for me? I will deliver him. I will be his refuge. For having known my name, he will call upon me. I will answer. I will be with him in distress. I will rescue him and give him honor. With length of days will I satisfy him and reveal to him my salvation. Oref yami masbiheyu, di'areyu Yeshuati. Oref yami masbiheyu, di'areyu Yeshuati. Oref yami masbiheyu, di'areyu Yeshuati. I'm going to say Kaddish. There's usually a special Kaddish for the cemetery, but we don't say that because of Pesach again. So I'm going to say just the regular Kaddish. And everybody's soul goes to Gehenna. It continues on a journey, and Kaddish is my way of holding Sheila's hand through this continued journey of the soul, which is indestructible. And I will hold her hand while I say Kaddish for her during the coming year. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Doma, Dibrafi, Vitavi, Amlik, Mokutavi, Atzvak, Kanei, Karevi, Shikei, Hayefona, Yomefona, the Haida Kobe Israel, Agola, Lizmon, Farib, Imro, Amen. Yitkorek, Yishabak, Yitkoer, Vitamam, Yunase, Yitadar, Vitale, Vital, Shrek, Vichab, Layla, Vilhover, Pata, Vishrata, Tukavata, Vidakabata, Damiron, Beolma, Hey, Shlomo, Rabba, Vinchamai, Vakain, Tobno, Lena, Vilko, Israel, Vimame. Oh, say Shalom, Bimama, Viyasa, Shalom, Lena, Vilko, Israel, Vimame. If everybody would just make 2 lines and you say, may you be comforted among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem, as Paul is the only mourner who walks through the gauntlet of 2 lines.
Marco, Isaac, Mestre, Besosh, Agavele, Sion, Dibu, Shabayim.